Welcome, ladies and gents. Thank you. This is another power episode of Kikao Africa, where we speak to guests, learn and share, and take from those who know more than us, take from those who have come before us, and also take from you, the audience. And this is how we move and groove. Thanks so much. On today's episode, we have a second reaction video from our guest. Welcome, Dad.
Thank you.
For those who are new to our show, our guest is James Kagia Wawero, a wise man, a brilliant man, a friend of mine. He's also my dad, but he's here on merit. He's an author and a content creator of his own standing, and he has something to share with us today. Today's episode, Dad, is... First, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Okay.
Yes, I woke up well and I'm doing well.
Okay.
I thank God for that.
How's life been treating you?
Life has been good.
Okay.
We thank God for every day, or for each day.
Okay.
Waking up, enjoying good health, and going about doing what we desire to do.
Okay.
So I consider myself blessed.
Okay.
And having been blessed with a family.
Yeah.
For those years.
Yeah.
Been married for about 42 years.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And I've grown up children.
Yeah.
And so I thank God for that.
And I think all through, as far as I can remember, you've always said that you know, I thank God. So this sense of gratitude that you have towards having a family, towards seeing every new day, I never used to understand. And I think maybe when you take the days for granted, you're like, okay, so it's a new day, so what? How comes your days are valuable? Why are you appreciative of your days? What makes you appreciative of your days?
Of course, having gone through life the far I've gone, and seen the situations that many people face, I don't take life for granted. I know it's a gift.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I know it is a gift.
Okay.
And being a Christian because I am, then again I recognize everything is a gift from God.
Okay.
The very life I have, the very breath I have, is a gift. So I appreciate it.
Okay. Okay.
And looking at the journey I have walked, I have everything to thank God for.
Okay. And so do I. Being able to see it is a trick. Being able to see that everything is a gift. And I think doing that makes life miraculous. Everything is like, wow, I'm healthy. Wow, I can walk. Wow, But when you don't have the sense of gratitude, then maybe things are not... You don't see your blessings. Let's say that. Yeah. I grew up with more privilege than you did. So there are things which to me were automatic. But with time I started realizing, okay, it's not automatic. Nothing is a given. Health is not a given. Yeah. So, Dad, there was this article that you sent me, Madaraka Day. Something to do with President Uhuru Kenyatta's speech that later then turned into an article in the paper. What was the article about, and what's on your mind in regards to that?
The president really expressed a concern about the family situation in Kenya.
Okay.
And he was looking at it, he was saying it's really redefining the culture of the Kenyan people.
Okay.
Yeah? Because the family really is the core of the society. And his concern really was the rapid increase in single parenthood.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay. And
he quoted some statistics from research that from 2009, single parenthood has risen from 25% to 40% in 2019.
From what?
From 20 to 25% in 2009 to 40% in 2019.
Wow.
So within that span of 10 years, single parenthood has increased by 15%.
That's quite a big jump.
That's a big jump. And researchers also now had also indicated that by the time many women turn 45, 60, most likely 6 out of 10 will be single. That has been the trend.
Yes.
And therefore, looking at what the family is as the core of society, of the Kenyan society, that becomes a major concern.
Okay.
I really have a heart for the family. I look at my journey and I see how I've walked, how I struggled in my marriage for about 10 years, and during which I met 3 people who changed my perception about life. The first one was a psychologist, where my wife suggested we go, I think in our 6th marriage, in our 6th year of marriage.
Okay.
I met a psychologist.
Because you're having things you can't.
We were having issues. We did not understand what it was all about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think our different expectations were not being met.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we really did not understand. They were not stated anywhere, but we had different expectations. We had different views of what the marriage should be. My wife had her views. I had my own views from our backgrounds. And therefore, conflicts, of course,
come up. So in about the 6th year, I met a psychologist. And we connected. And I started consuming some materials he was writing. In my 10th year in marriage, I met a psychiatrist. Again, who also changed my view about many things. What's the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist for those who are watching? Just a general...
Yeah, generally, a psychology largely deals with the psychological issues.
Okay.
Dealing with, issues that are psychological.
Okay.
From our emotional self, from our understanding of who we are.
Okay.
And all those things because they affect us.
Okay.
Understanding relationships. What drives the relationship? What drives us?
Okay.
Yeah, so they are largely involved in counseling.
And a psychiatrist?
A psychiatrist largely is more of a doctor. A brain doctor.
Okay.
Looking at the changes and the effect they have.
Okay.
And what drives them.
Okay.
So, my wife had been seeing him for almost 10 years. She was struggling with depression.
Okay.
Yeah. So at this point, something happened, and there was a big change. And I went to ask him what really happened. And we had a conversation.
Okay.
And that also changed again my perspective. Okay. How do I see the family? What drives all these things we see and we do not understand? Yeah? Of course, in the same year, I think towards the end of our 10th year, I also I had another encounter. But this is when I became a Christian. This is when I gave my life to the Lord. And therefore, I embraced the biblical model. I had now the psychological perspective. What really drives us? What happens? Now I have a biblical model that I wanted to look at because now I'm a Christian. My perspective has changed. And that kind of changed my life and my worldview. But we had our struggles for nearly 10 years.
10 years of
marriage.
Of struggling to understand
to understand each other. We were not understanding each other, and we did not know what the problem was.
And it seems to you then that you haven't even brought up the option of parting ways.
Nowadays, parting ways, I think, was not a common thing. I think I knew very few people who had parted ways.
And in regards to that, so I saw some statistics earlier as I was doing research for this interview of ours. And I saw that in the States, so Americans talk like they're very progressive and have always been open to everything, but it's not true. Women started voting in the middle of the 60s, and women could not access their own credit until the middle of the 1970s in the US. But as just a little while after you see women being able to access credit, you start to see divorce rate going up in the US. So when you tell me about struggling to make things work for 10 years, I ask myself, is it that women majorly tolerated men because of needing them versus wanting to be with them? Because if you see, I don't know if it's I don't think it's a coincidence that as soon as women have ability to access financial resources of their own, you start to see them uncoupling from men. I don't know. What do you think about?
Yes, some people have also commented on that. Women empowerment.
Financial women empowerment.
Financial women empowerment.
We can get to ideological later because ideological is here or there.
Exactly.
But financial.
Financial, because ideally, or in the traditional society, the family setup was patriarchal.
Yes.
Man was the owner of resources. Man was in control. Man was the head.
He's a king.
He's the king, unquestionably.
Yes.
And therefore he called the shots.
Yes.
And that's where we grew up ourselves, growing up in a polygamous family, where you saw our father. My father was the king.
Your boss. There's no discussing.
There's no discussing. It's what he says. Yeah? And of course, the wives, our mothers were very docile. They simply obeyed.
Then it was easy to keep families together.
They simply obeyed. They submitted totally.
Versus now. What we see when you have 4 out of 10 women who have children being outside of the traditional family structure.
Exactly.
Yes.
So
in quite a short time.
That is the challenge now. But I think the challenge, we must reflect on it. It did not start with we are not talking about your generation.
No.
The younger generation, where divorce rate is very high, if you're talking about the Kenyan situation.
Yes.
Because like in our generation, divorce rate was very low.
The physical
divorce rate.
Even if in your heart, you may divorce.
But in many marriages, let me say, in our generation, are psychologically not really very functional.
Marriages on paper.
Because I came from a marriage where my father was calling the shots. That's the model I had. That's what I expected.
And he'd tell one woman and another woman. Yeah. Now what watasikia? Now try having more than one. See how it goes.
Our challenge now, as the fathers of this generation, is that's what we expected.
This is what you saw.
This is what we saw, and this is what we learned.
So when you get your own home,
we expected to call.
Went bad on your boss.
The shots.
But
the woman had started becoming empowered. Our wives were working.
And is there something wrong with female economic empowerment? Because this just on the surface, these statistics appear to. There's a correlation then between the change of the times and people not being in the traditional family. So when Uhuru says it's worrying, why is he saying that it is worrying? Because family is the basic unit of society.
Yes.
According to what we have seen so far in the history of humanity. But now we see different.
We see things are happening. Things are different.
And you attribute. So Uhuru is worried about it, and it seems so are you. But you attribute this to what?
Changes in society, modernism that we were not prepared for, that we had no idea how to manage.
But we are always behind the times.
We're always behind the times. But look, I say like for us, we came into a different environment.
Yes.
Where we came from, our father's world.
It was authoritarianism. What is now called the patriarchy.
The daughters of our mothers, right? They thought their mothers were oppressed because they had no freedom, they had no say.
Yes.
They were not earning, they had no income. Everything came from the man. So it's what the man said. Excuse me. Now, their daughters have come to a different world where they are earning, right? And they are craving for freedom. They have gone to school. They're craving for freedom.
Okay. So education is one factor.
Education is one factor.
And the stats I saw, again, while still researching to address this, when you educate women, you see a much more robust society in the world of now.
Yes.
But you see much smaller families.
Much smaller families.
Yes.
Because the woman now has to balance. She's also working.
She's working. She has different priorities.
She has different priorities.
Before maybe the sense of value in society, the sense of value in self came from, I have sons.
Yes.
I have daughters. But we start to see a shift where now, like we said in our last video, work started to become a factor in women's lives.
Exactly.
Yes.
So changing times have called for different changing ways of doing things.
Okay.
But even as we go on, perhaps let me highlight what the experts and the religious leaders had said about the president's comment, what is going on.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
And the driving force has been attributed to one, irresponsible, of course, dissolution of marriages. 30% of children born out of marriage, 30% in Kenya.
Okay.
Irresponsible fathers, empowerment of women, moral degradation, financial struggles. There's a professor who had commented on that, and one fact she pointed to was lack of orientation, to family. What is family all about? parenting without conscious orientation. And therefore, you say, I mean, so long as I have a child, I'm okay. But we do not see the bigger picture.
We do not prepare for...
We are not prepared, and we do not know what exactly is going on. Look.
Not prepared for family life.
For family life.
And you were. Your generation was prepared for family life.
Was prepared for family life, yes.
How?
Because we saw stable family, right?
You grew up seeing families.
We grew up seeing families.
Like me now.
Yes.
Like me now, when I've had challenges, my default is to try and fix the relationship with my lady instead of saying wachekai.
Exactly.
Okay.
And those days, in the earlier days, even if the man, the head of the family, did not agree with one of the wives, he would not ordinarily tell her to go away. She would be there. They may not have much in common.
But she's part of the family.
But she is part of the family. Right? So those are some of the triggers that have been pointed out.
Moral degradation.
Intolerance, again, radical feminism, moral degradation.
So let's go back a bit. So you say, we are not oriented around family. We don't know how to be in families.
We don't know.
Moral degradation, strain of finances.
Exactly.
And then now you've come and said radical feminism. Radical feminism. What we are seeing now.
What we are seeing now.
The notion that you don't need men.
The notion that you do not need men.
And that actually men are the key oppressor of society.
Exactly.
Yes.
And man has also found himself in an awkward situation. Because like again, going back to where we started, we found ourselves in a very awkward situation. Yeah? Because my wife is asking for dialogue. She is a party to it now. She's contributing. She's earning.
You negotiate.
I've never seen it.
Your father used to talk, and that's
exactly
what is bond.
So, even in an interview that was done, I mean, addressing men, many men said during our generation, I think 1997 or thereabout, their wives were nagging. They were demanding too much. Yeah, and that's why many had taken off to the clubs, going home just to sleep. Because we were not prepared
for this.
We were prepared for what we had seen. Right? And again, I think we mentioned last time, we were in a crisis.
Yes.
All along, you've been prepared
to deal with
a certain scenario.
And then
suddenly, the scenario changes.
Yeah.
Where do you find yourself? There is no school.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. And these girls also are not necessarily being troublesome. Everything that they do is coming from somewhere.
Everything they do is coming from somewhere.
You said that they saw their mothers being people who had no sense of agency.
No, nothing, because
you have no decision-making power.
No.
Even the number of children, it's the man. If he says, I want children, you have children.
Exactly.
But please go on with your...
So we're saying then, other observers, other comments is that men not providing leadership.
What does that mean?
Again, coming from where we came from, men provided leadership. They gave direction. They were there. This is what should happen. This is what should happen. The woman felt secure because there is a man, a protector, a provider, and a leader. Yeah, and the family moved as the father called the shots.
Yes.
The family felt guided. There was no vacuum. There was nothing. Yeah, they provided. Everyone is taken care of. Even this wife who has no voice really has nothing to complain about.
So there's no democracy, but her life issues are
taken care of. Yeah. So when leadership lacks, as the observers are observing, then of course women find no value in this man who cannot provide leadership, who is also not providing money. Sometimes where the woman is more empowered. So he is not providing leadership. He is insecure. So because he's not providing financially, or he's earning maybe less. Yeah. And so the marriage falls apart. So the woman then asked herself, why do I need this guy? Why do I need to be here? I can have children and be on my own.
I'm feeding myself. I'm feeding myself. I don't need this guy.
So if there is any disagreement or some disgruntlement,
You're quick to leave.
You're quick to leave.
Because you have the option.
There is no value, and you have the option. You don't see the value of this relationship. And that is a big driving force. But who do we blame? Who do we blame for this? Do we blame the man? Do we blame the woman?
The seasons have something to do with it.
The seasons have something to do with it. And all of us, both the man and the woman, we are reacting to a changing environment. We are not prepared for it. We are not responding to it. We are not asking ourselves, how do we manage? We are reacting in our own ways. The man feels threatened. He walked away. Because men have an ego. Yeah? And the moment that ego is shattered, they feel inadequate.
Okay. And what shatters men's egos?
That feeling, I'm not in control, I'm not in charge, I'm not who I should be. Again, we are saying we have some background. We have our fathers. We saw what we saw. Our fathers who are in charge. And here we are. Right? Here we are. What do I hold on? The traditional man had...
Hey!
The traditional man had had the culture behind him. He had the resources. A docile woman. So he was in charge. And man was created to be the head, to be the leader. That must be very clear.
Okay.
Let's agree that family is not an accident.
The hierarchy of it.
Family is not an accident. So the one who started family really had a plan and said, man, you're there. The wife comes, yeah, and you work together to bring up this family, to raise a family. Families that would become again members of the society, right? So that the process continues, right?
Yes.
And the traditional family was very, very clear on this. We are raising these children to become. Yeah? We are raising these children to become.
Yes.
In the traditional society, boys and girls were raised deliberately to fit certain roles. Right?
From the beginning, you're being brought up to be A, B, C.
Exactly. Very deliberate. Yeah? At different stages, you are initiated. You're told this is what should happen in the next stage. You are being prepared. Right? So you're saying they were very deliberate. Right or wrong?
Right.
And the father really was there.
Yes.
Guiding the whole process.
And it has always been that way, save for there's very little evidence of egalitarian societies where men and women were equal.
No.
Almost none.
No.
In the history of humanity.
None in the traditional society, in the biblical society that we read.
In all of recorded history.
In all recorded history.
We've seen it in very rare cases.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Look, because hierarchy is always needed.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We were wired for leadership. Right? And leadership provides direction and guidance. Why are we doing this? Let me ask one question. Which institution, or even if you were to start a kiosk, right? You have an objective. Why am I starting a kiosk?
Yes.
Anything you do, anything you find taking place, that's commercial.
Yes.
Why am I doing this?
Yes.
So that you direct all your energy towards accomplishing that objective.
Yes.
You have a big picture.
Yes.
I'm starting this kiosk in order to make money. How do I do that? I look for the cheapest source. I sell high. I make a profit.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And every institution has that objective.
The premise for that.
The premise for that. Why are we doing it? And the traditional society had a very, very clear direction. Yeah. Why are we doing it? We are raising these boys to become.
Yeah.
If they are feeling threatened by the other neighbor, they prepare them to become their warriors, their defenders, right? When they are young.
Very purposeful.
Yes, very purposeful. And when they get to a certain age, they get into family.
Damn. Okay.
The girls also, they are learning from their mothers again, being raised up and taught how to become wives.
And that is almost
very purposeful.
Yeah, but if you say that now, that you're raising girls to be wives, people will shoot you.
You see,
you can't do that anymore.
Society may change, but the way it was meant to be.
Yes.
The moment you move from that pillar,
you start seeing chaos.
But
that's when you look at things in context.
When you look at things in context.
But when you look at things in the moment, and this is the world of now, we isolate, this is the moment now, then you don't see that. When you tell people that you must have a man for a family to be complete, this is actually a very offensive statement to people, to some people. But if you look at it in context, it has always been so that men have always been in charge, men have always run things, men have always been the protector, the provider, up to very recently. There's only maybe, I saw some tribes in Southern Africa where they have men and women being equal, but when they have conflicts, they go to the neighboring societies that have a hierarchy in order to be able to sort it out.
To guide them.
So throughout human history, we've always seen wanaume huongoza na ladies huelekeza na kufuata.
Exactly.
But here we are now, in this moment in time. So most people don't have context. Even as they formulate the thinking, they're just going along. You said that everything was purposeful. Now, to be honest, these relationships start out of, let's call it love or lust. It's attraction. Let me call it attraction. Like I meet someone, she's pretty, or she has the things I like, tumeanza kuongea, that's the premise. But it seems that prior to this, it was based on family. When I was a child, I found this issue of arranged marriages and all that. I found it ridiculous. Now, maybe it's because I'm an old man.
You understand
now
why.
I'm like, you know what? This thing can work, even if someone who has been picked from the bush. As long as there is a center post, a guiding philosophy that says, your work is this, your work is this, you should treat her like this, she should treat you like this. Honestly, you can pick someone from the bush and make it work.
Exactly.
But we have a very different premise, and it is not purposeful. It is based off of feelings,
yeah,
which are quite transient. So I might like you today, not like you tomorrow, like you again the day after. But children are in the mix now, though children don't seem to be as important as they were. Because people can just...
And that is where the challenge is. That is where the challenge is. We have already said that in the traditional society, they raised children specifically for a purpose.
Yes.
And that's also what we find in the Bible.
The continuity of society.
The continuity of society.
Yes.
And you find even God instructing his people. These laws I've given you, teach them to your children. When you're sitting down, when you're walking, when you're working, impress them upon them.
And it used to annoy me so much when you talk to Bible every time.
Yeah, so that they would guide them.
But now I see.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that we are all victims. Men are victims, women are victims. Now the children are becoming victims also.
Yes.
Of the sudden change in the environment, right? And we are all reacting.
Kila mtu ana
vile anajua. And it's no wonder in one of these articles, a psychologist, a professor suggests feeling maybe we should have something in the Marriage Act, that requires people to be trained.
Yes.
Because for now we are all in a very fluid situation.
Yes.
Each one is doing what they think.
Yes.
But really, we must now come to that point where we ask ourselves, who are we and what was meant to happen? Why are we raising children?
Why?
Because we need to ask ourselves the why.
Yeah.
Like that kiosk we talk about.
Yes.
Why am I having a kiosk?
Begin with the end in mind.
The end in mind. Then
why are we getting together?
Yeah. Why?
But we are getting together because we love each other. This is where we are.
Unfortunately, that's where we are.
Are you saying that this is a bad idea or a bad premise?
It is a good idea if only people can realize the dynamics, right? Look, this attraction, you talked about arranged marriages. Yeah? People got together and they made it work because your mind is set for that. And so long as your mind is set for that and it has accepted that, your emotions will go along. And you love this person.
But your emotions in that case are secondary. In the
they are secondary.
Now they are primary. The way we get together nowadays, the emotions are primary.
That's the starting point. And that is where our challenge is.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Any two people who come together, generally we say opposite attract. Right? Mm-hmm. Opposites attract.
Yes.
And when we attract each other, we attract each other because of the strengths we see. Oh, this lady. When I saw Margaret, I saw a very smart lady. Calm, composed, very smart. Yeah? She saw a gentleman. Right? That is the initial attraction. Right? Only then to realize, along the way, of course, each had their own weaknesses. There's always a shadow. Yeah? Beyond what you see, there's always a shadow.
And everyone sends their representative.
Exactly.
Their best representative in the beginning.
Right?
Yeah.
So she saw a gentleman, but not very disciplined, of course. But she didn't see that. She saw the gentleman. I saw a very smart lady, organized. I didn't see the perfectionism. Yeah? That everything has to be like this. That's her wiring. That is her wiring. Yeah? Largely being melancholic. Yeah? The people with things go like this. Things work like this.
And it's this way and it's the only way.
And it's the only way.
But when you meet someone, you don't see...
No, you don't see that.
That rigidness.
No. You see the smartness, the what have you. Yeah? But when these other things start coming in, they start rubbing you
the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yes,
right?
Yes. And now this is now where the single parent families are being created.
Exactly. Now. Exactly. So now you attract each other on the basis of what you see.
Yes.
But soon after the honeymoon, you start seeing other things you did not see.
Truths.
I didn't know.
Kumbe, you're a human being.
Yeah. And none of you was pretending. Right?
But everyone feels,
I didn't see, this is not what I bargained for.
And just a few years back, this was not an option.
It was not an option.
Like, there's something about you I don't like. There's something about me that rubs you the wrong way.
Yeah.
Hizo ni shauri zenu.
So,
society was better off, you'd say?
Society was better off.
With less individual freedoms.
And more fulfilling. You see, those are on the surface. About feelings.
So individual freedoms are secondary to the well-being of society.
To the well-being of society.
This is your
Why
position.
are we doing what are we doing? Why are we doing what we are doing? And you see, when we understand that this guy is not bad, right? There are those things that are coming in, and they are deep in our wiring. This is me. I'm not pretending, I'm not acting. If I understood, and that's what I said, when I encountered the psychologists, I started learning about our differences, right? So, about our different temperaments that affect our relationship. And deliberately, we started working on them. Right? We could have called it quits, right? But again, having looked at that and started understanding ourselves. Who are we? Who is this lady? And who am I? What are we struggling with? Different expectations. Yeah. Our differences because we are very different. Yeah. So, of course, that the counseling session helped us to start understanding each other. During therapy.
You advocate for marriage counseling?
I advocate for marriage therapy.
Okay.
Anytime.
Okay.
Because we have come from a place, where we learn different things. Our expectations are different. We do not understand ourselves. And therefore, we are there. Not prepared. Look, I think I like what someone says. Only two emotionally independent people can become interdependent. emotionally independent. I'm not driven by my emotions. Yeah, because I have my emotional side and I also have my cognitive, my intellect, my thinking capacity, right? But many times we are driven by our feelings.
So you're saying that I need to be mature.
I need to be mature.
And then somebody else needs to be mature.
Exactly.
But you know, as I would say, me, when I started, I think Hollywood formed a lot of the context for relationships that I had before I understood what this means. Because the whole narrative was, you complete me, you're the other side of me. I'm meeting you, and you're bringing, and soulmate and all this rubbish. These are ideas that have been in my mind, and that have given me a lot of problems, a lot of serious problems, because you're operating with the wrong context.
Exactly.
So in coming back to what you're saying, so you face challenges, you want to resolve things. People now are not resolving things. People are parting ways. And what's your stand on living with a woman before marriage? What's your opinion on this? Are you for it or against it?
I am against it because it doesn't really help. I know many, and I've come across several cases where they lived for long before marriage. But when they get married, soon enough they divorce. There was no major commitment that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because people could walk away.
Okay.
You're simply courting and dating and what have you.
But the women are the ones losing most.
The women are the ones losing most. You see, for man, it's easy to walk away and leave the burden to the woman, with the children to the woman. And
even her time for childbearing can pass when she's still there dilly-dallying with you.
Exactly. So women become more victims. Because who is raising these 40% children, single children we are seeing of single parents? Is it the men?
I would say mostly women.
Mostly women.
Mostly women.
Right?
Yes.
And
women and their families.
And their families. Many found themselves in that situation.
Yes.
Okay.
And is that to say, were people not having sex before marriage, Dad? Before?
It was not tolerated.
What does that mean?
It was not. You see.
What does that mean? It was not tolerated. It was frowned upon, but it.
Look.
But
different societies, of course, handle it differently. Yeah. Like now in the region, we said Kenya is the highest. Tanzania is quite far below. And Ethiopia is the lowest.
Yeah, they are very traditional.
You look at them and you find they are very traditional.
And they are very wary of foreigners. Even I was in school with Ethiopians and Eritreans in university, and they would keep to themselves.
Exactly.
They even talk their own language. They've retained that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the more traditional a society is, the more stable the family is.
But we're in the modern world.
But we are in the modern world.
Yes.
But in this modern world, the biggest challenge we have is that we are not asking ourselves, why this? Yeah? We are seeing like the traditional society was primitive. We are not learning from their wisdom.
We see it as primitive the same way the same way our religions also looked primitive.
Yes.
When time passes, the new thing is the thing.
Is the thing. So, even in changing times, I think we need to ask ourselves, why are we doing what we are doing?
Okay.
We say the traditional society was deliberate. Why are we raising children to be?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
But the society was quite cohesive. And therefore, any parent out there could discipline a child. He or she doesn't know. But this child was doing the wrong thing.
You're part of society.
You are part of society.
Mini baba yako one way or another.
One way or another.
Yes.
And therefore I'm concerned. Right?
But that was then.
That was then. Why were they doing it? I think we need just to ask ourselves then. They are doing it because they realize we are a society.
We are one.
We are one.
Yes.
And these children, this child's misbehavior will affect our society.
If this child becomes a thief, another child will become a thief.
Another child will
become a thief. So, wacha nigonge huyu.
Wacha nigonge huyu alarm. So the child knew wherever he was or he or she was, any adult could discipline them.
Because we are all members of this society.
We are all members.
Okay.
So, those now pregnancy outside marriage, sex before marriage was completely discouraged.
Yes.
And those restraints now are what we don't have. Even in my culture, in my society,
Yes.
it was really frowned on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you got a child before marriage in the earlier society, you knew now you're in trouble.
You're an outcast in a way.
Where do you go? Yeah.
Okay.
Where do you go after that?
And here
everyone
we are
will
now.
frown on you.
And that here we are now. And as you share your take, I think also it's good to. I feel like sometimes we can prepare for a world that has passed, and that's the constant challenge of every new generation, where sometimes you prepare for a world that has already passed, based on the world we are in now and the challenge that we are having. So like now, sex before marriage was frowned upon. It was a big issue. We don't have the moral guardrails that we had. And now what to say?
Yeah, it become more acceptable.
But we can't pull time back.
There are no restraints. We can't pull time back, right?
Yes.
So we are asking ourselves, in the moment we are in, right? In the moment we are in,
Yes.
what do we then need to put in place? Yeah? Why were they doing it? We are not going back there.
You're explaining the reason for why they were doing it.
But we ask ourselves, why were they doing it? Were they being primitive? Are we better?
Were they being oppressive?
Were they being oppressive?
They didn't want people to have fun.
They knew that human beings, without constraints or without some restraining force or laws or what have you, we follow our emotions. We follow our feelings and our emotions.
Yes.
And, we have been, many things have been talked about sex education, right? And many conflicting views. Who is going to teach? Are they really? Yeah. And why? Because for people to understand, really, for young people, look, we don't understand. There is no school.
And the HIV went up after it was scrapped in schools for those years.
After it was?
After it was taken out of the system. We used to have those talks, people coming and saying, hi, I have HIV, this is my life, and they show you those nasty videos. It was a scare tactic. When that was removed, HIV jumped among young people. When you started to have less of that engaging sex talk. When some people were saying it was bad, some people were saying it was good. But go ahead.
Yeah. You see, a person who knows, knowledge is powerful. Yeah? There's an old adage that he who knows not and knows he knows not is a fool indeed. Right? Because this is a growing up child, young person, has no idea. So feelings start popping up as the time goes, adolescence and what have you. Right? Not understanding even their bodies, what is going on. It's so easy now, driven by those feelings, yeah? And boys who are also now maturing, right? And getting together. It's so easy now for those things to happen. So because there is no restraining force. It doesn't mean those people, older people, did not have feelings.
They also had feelings.
But they knew doing this. I was told that sometimes they would go dances. There were dances in my community. And people would dance. Of course, they were scantily dressed those days. But you knew, yeah? You knew you can't do this because it means ABCD.
You have the sexual urges.
But the
consequence is very strong in your face.
Exactly. And therefore, you restrain yourself because you know what would follow that.
Yes, versus now.
Now, I feel it, I go ahead. No consequences, no restraining force. Unless you hold on to religious values, strongly, that intrinsic faith. Not just going to church or where, but you believe it, you hold on to it. And therefore, I won't do this because
of this.
Because of this.
Now we don't have a because of this. And therefore, we are free. So when you read about 30% being born before marriage, then you can see the freedom. Yes.
But the question we're asking ourselves, is it good for us as a society?
Overall, if we come out of the moment, which is the problem we have, being That's our big problem. Not being able to say outside the moment. When you come outside the moment, sex outside of marriage is a bad idea. In the moment, it's fun.
In the moment, it's fun.
And it's glorified, and it looks like a rite of passage.
Yes.
But when you look at what happens,
the
to
product
human
of
beings,
that, yes,
especially girls, with multiple sexual partners, and it becomes a lot of pain down the road.
Exactly.
For the vast majority of the people. But to see that is a problem.
To see that is a problem.
Yeah.
We cannot rewind the clock, but I think we need to be taught. We need to learn. We need to know how. Why are we doing it? What are the consequences, or what are the long-term results? The president was concerned about the children we are raising. How will they be as members of society?
Down the road. No fathers.
No fathers.
No consequence.
So psychological and mental issues are likely to increase.
Okay.
And look, what model are we giving them? Now you're saying 40%. When these young ones now grow and they are ready to get into marriage situation, what will really lead them into marriage?
They have no reason.
They have no reason.
Apart from their feelings.
Apart from their feelings.
And then if it doesn't work,
if
they
the feelings don't work, they go into it to meet their feelings,
yes,
to meet their needs. And if it doesn't work, they quickly take off. So there will be a spiral in the numbers.
Okay, so if you start with Uhuru today, and this newspaper was on the table, what are you going to tell him?
No, I think this one requires a societal conversation. We really need to sit ourselves as a people.
As a people.
As a people, and ask ourselves, are we on the right track? Right? What do we see? Out of that liberty, freedom, feminism, out of all that, who is the loser? Men are the loser. Men are losing, but women, they are losing in a big way. They have the resources.
They look like they're winning right now. Women are up right now, Dad. Women are so up right now.
They are up right now. But you see, I think someone observed that 90% of fulfillment, your fulfillment as a person, comes from the quality of your relationships. Money per se contributes only 10%. We need it,
and when you don't
but
have
money
so
on its own will not satisfy you.
And a career?
Career will come in. It will give you satisfaction to a certain extent. But assuming you're very successful, you have all the money, but relationally,
Relationally, you have problems because after 45,
you have problems.
After 45, without a family, life is quite difficult and lonely.
Life?
And making friends. This I'm quoting from. There's a guy called Dr. Jordan Peterson, Canadian professor, also has written a nice book called 12 Rules to Life. So this argument has been ongoing. And in the course of that, then I saw this thing about how women were sold a lie. That careers can be a replacement to the fulfillment that comes from childbearing and all that.
It cannot. The relationships you have. I've talked to people in senior positions, some out there, working out there, and in big positions. But they say the biggest challenge is loneliness. You have all the money, but many times you find yourself lonely. And this money can not satisfy you.
So at the end of it all, are you saying they feel the juice is not worth the squeeze?
Yeah, they look at it and say, unless it's a limited time period, you really want that time to pass and go back where you can have relationships.
But relationships don't pause for any of us.
They don't?
They don't press pause.
Yeah, they don't press pause.
So if a relationship starts to die, then...
Unfortunately. And therefore... Why do people have mental issues and so many other issues, psychological issues? Mainly you trace them to relationships.
Okay.
The nest where we came from are nurturing. And all that and expectations. Right? So money itself cannot replace relationships. We were created for relationships.
But now society is of the general opinion that that relationships can exclude men. That a lady can be complete, have some 2-3 children, nice car, nice house, everything taken care of, and she's okay.
And she can have her emotional needs met at, somehow.
Some other way. Casual sexual relationships. There's a normalization of very many things very quickly.
Very good.
But we can't say that we know the long-term effect down the road.
Precisely.
Yeah, but that is what society currently feels, that women wako sawa, akiwa na kazi yake, aende azalishwe na jamaa fulani, it's all right.
So, yes.
So Uhuru's concerns to some people are unfounded.
Unfounded.
Yes.
But when we listen to him, his main concern is, what are we producing?
We are producing.
What are we doing with these children? What do we expect out of these children now?
Outside of family.
Outside of the family frame. What do we expect in the future?
Okay.
When they become adults.
We have societies that have gone down this road earlier than us, like America.
What has been their experience?
What do you see when you look at America? And so the issue of fatherlessness, I would say the inner cities of America, fatherlessness is a big deal. It's way over 50%. Actually, I think almost 80% of men are not in their homes in the US. Black communities. Though black people, of course, were thrust into, just like us here, when the colonialists came, they were thrust into these very claustrophobic kind of environments that make it very difficult for people to coexist. Also financially, it's kind of skewed. A lot of men are in jail, a lot of men are not able to get jobs, all these things.
Okay.
And now we see what American society is. We have a lot of people who grew up without understanding what a father is, they have no framework for masculinity or any of these things. So you see higher and higher divorce rates, higher and higher non-traditional lifestyles, whether it's homosexuality or trans or whatever it is. So we just see this kind of, it keeps going. Crime increases. Pregnancies earlier and earlier. Suicide earlier and earlier. Many things you can say as a result of the change of society, the fragmentation of society. In regards to Kenya now, would you say automatically then we're heading down the same path?
Of course. What will prevent us from going the same way? What will prevent us? Increase in crime. Yeah. People who do not have a foundation, they have no core. I mean, anything goes. Individualism. Anything goes. Yeah. Many who feel unloved. Yeah. And cared for, because it's not just happening in the affluent society.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere, including down there.
Yes.
Many desperate mothers raising children.
Yes.
Right?
They themselves are broken or wounded.
They themselves are broken.
And now the kids don't have.
And how do they view society? Yeah. And why can't they get into crime and harm someone? They have been deprived. They feel a sense of loss.
Okay.
So we are heading in the same direction.
Crime coming
especially with an economy like ours.
So the crime is coming from lack of a moral compass, lack of consequence.
Bitterness also is the society.
You're angry at society.
Yes.
Because of your life.
Because of your life.
You growing up without one parent.
Yes.
Okay.
So there are all those things, dynamics.
But crime is mostly boys.
Mostly boys. Girls, of course, we know they get into sex very early.
Because of not having dads.
So the cycle
just keeps going.
Especially in now that the poor area, the people who are, of course, not well.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
So the cycle keeps on.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
And the numbers keep growing.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So what do we see ahead as the numbers grow? If we grow at that rate now, at 15 or even now 20%, we are saying soon we'll be at 50%. Right?
Yes.
Like what you're saying America is.
Yes.
So what do we expect down the line, a few years down the line? What do we expect in the Kenyan society?
Yeah.
And that's the president's concern.
We are losing the fabric of society.
We are losing the fabric of society.
And it's Kenya because okay, so let me tell you a brief story. So in my house, the lady who I had a Ugandan lady and a Tanzanian lady in my house at the same time. One was teaching the other the work. The culture of these people, it can shock you as a Kenyan.
Yeah.
You'd be like, damn. Like, okay. So even I was talking to my wife, just joking, like, hey, these people are really nice. Honestly, these Kenyan guys, I would tell them, bro, go to Tanzania, go to Uganda, you'll find more of that traditional nini. So we are very quick to adopt this Western stuff. When you look at these Ugandans and the Tanzanians and the way they still have that sense of traditionalism, the way they speak to me, my house is about, whoa, okay. These ladies by default are just kind of wired or trained to be this way.
Yeah.
Sisi kwetu hiyo imeenda ikipotea na inapotea much faster than even other African countries because we are fast importers of Western ideology. Kenyans. So now the States is... You told me America is socially dead. I shared that with somebody, an American, and he told me it's just too precise. So we are at a place where people are more educated, people are knowing more things, but society is falling apart. Uhuru is concerned, saying down the road, what kind of people do we have? America, we can see what kind of people they have now. Individual freedoms are number one in everything, completely. Last interview, we talked about how eventually this leads to chaos. Lack of... many people need to agree. So this is what we believe. This is what we believe in this one thing. Now we don't have that. So you're saying we need to have an overall societal conversation that to look at where we are and to kind of redirect us.
Exactly.
Okay. What does that look like?
Now that is a challenge, how that conversation can get started. Because
you have now a full generation, or even maybe more than one generation of people growing up who don't have those norms at all. They don't have the norms of father, mother, mother respects father, children are like this, people reach a certain age, they start having sex, those norms are non-existent in their world. And this is the Kenya of now.
The Kenya of now?
Yes.
Good. And we agree that's how we are wired. We are wired to operate within a family.
Yes.
That is our wiring.
I agree.
That's our default.
Personally, I agree, yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
So outside of that, of course, you find a lot of depression, mental illnesses, and of course, like you're saying, anger and crime and all those things will come in.
And depression and mental illnesses right now are in the States, those are destroying more lives than physical illnesses.
Again?
Last year we had 2021, there was overdoses exceeded cancer deaths, accidents, and all that for the first time in American history. And the overdoses of these pain pills, this comes from somewhere.
People trying to dull their pain.
People are in
the emotional pain, the psychological pain, and can also result in physical,
Yes.
So, overdose as people try to dull the pain. So there is pain.
People are in pain first of all. People are in pain first of all.
People are in pain.
Yes.
And therefore, we are going the same way, right? You say it in America now in those areas, crime is on the increase. And so many things. Depression is on the increase. Suicide is on the increase.
All the bad things.
All the bad things. Why? As a result of the collapse of the family. So family is crucial. I think that's our conclusion.
Okay.
It's central to humanity.
Whether we like it or not.
Whether we like it or not.
By all observable metrics.
By all observable metrics.
Family is the center post of society.
Exactly.
Traditional families.
Traditional family.
Father, mother, children, like that.
Yes. And we agree again, we must come to that point. Who are we as human beings? We must answer that question. Are we accidental beings out of evolution? No. There is no other theory that can completely answer that question.
That we emerged from chaos.
Other than the biblical account recorded in Genesis. There is no other scientific theory that can tie. Look at us, how amazing we are. right? With a mind, with a brain, with a body that functions in several ways. We are spiritual beings. All that could not have come from chaos.
No.
And we are left with no option but to take the biblical model as the accurate model, right? I mean, anything out of that, nothing can fully answer those questions for those people who have doubts. And therefore, then we ask ourselves, if that is so, is a biblical story, and as we look at the Old Testament and at the Abraham and what have you, yeah, and the commandments God gave, and God demanding, train up your children, yeah. God also demands that we train up our children. Is that training taking place?
Are we training our children?
Are we training our children? Are we passing on? But what can we pass on if you don't have it? Yeah? Like I said, just taking you back, the challenge started with our generation. We were brought up in a traditional setup. We came into a place where we found ourselves lost.
Yes.
Many marriages psychologically died.
Yes.
So you are product, a lot of you, of dysfunctional families.
And we are the ones who are now the builders
And
of
you
the
are
society.
now the builders of the society.
And we don't know anything.
And you don't know anything.
Yes.
So that transition happened so fast that we are where we are because of all that. And therefore, looking at the president's concern, I don't know how a national dialogue can be triggered. Yeah? Because you're saying they are not restraining, there is no restraint. People are free to do what they want. You're free to walk out of marriage. I think I read somewhere in one of those articles that the time there are 15 judges handling the 5 divorce cases on a daily basis, or something like that, because the divorce rate in Kenya is also growing.
Yes.
People who are quickly stepping out. We have no patience. It's not working. I step out.
But the premise for marriage was a problem to begin with. Because now people are getting divorced, but they got married because of feelings.
They got married because of feelings.
But they were trained that relationships, love, it's about feelings. So they are not wrong in their own
in their own thinking. So we need now to calm down and redefine who are we? What is marriage all about? What is family all about? Yeah? Do we know what we want out of these children you have brought into this world? And how do we train them? But you cannot train them unless you first understand yourself. Yeah? And understanding ourselves is admitting our mistakes. Where have we failed? Where did we lose it? We go back. Where did we lose it?
Yeah.
And where are we? Right? How do we move from here? I think that conversation needs to come.
A big conversation.
A big conversation.
It's a multi-level conversation.
Yeah.
Your contribution to this is to point us in the right direction. So please then, would you speak to somebody who maybe has grown up in less than ideal circumstances, grew up maybe in a chaotic home, and now is in a relationship, and there are children, and they don't have any other reference except jumping out. Somebody who is trying to find their way, but they have never known even that there was a way. What would you say to a young man, a young woman, even to a child who is in chaos and wishes not to be in chaos anymore?
I said from the onset, I think I gave you my journey, right? A marriage was not working.
Yes, you
right?
sought therapy.
I sought therapy,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I sought therapy. We started understanding each other. We were helped to communicate, to see where each other is coming from. Why are we having conflicts? Because me, I expected this. Me, I expected this. But you see, these are expectations that were not even known. Yeah? They are not clearly stated, but they are in us. Right? So therapy helped us to communicate and to start hearing each other. Because many times we don't hear each other.
And what about the self-discovery journey that allows me to be mature enough to be in a relationship? Because that people don't have that. And that's the foundation for for wholeness that then allows me to be in a relationship functionally. If I've not grown up seeing a parent, if I've not grown up seeing any form of stability, if I've grown up in this individualistic world, how do I start to find my way?
I think I go back to that. I mean, I said therapy first is a self-understanding.
So you mean personal therapy, not relationship?
No, first personal. Right?
So I just wake up and go and see a
If
therapist.
I could see a therapist and say, this is what I struggle with.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I mean, therapists are trained to really bring out those emotional, those things that inside you.
I just wake up, I go, I pay someone, I tell him, this is what I struggle with.
This is what I struggled with.
Okay.
Or I struggle with.
Okay.
Yeah?
It's quite a big...
therapy helps you to understand yourself, right? That's what happened to me. It helped me to understand myself, to see where I'm coming from. It helped Margaret also to understand herself. Why do we struggle? We love each other, yet we are not making it work. Why is it not working? Right?
Okay. And was this common?
Yeah, that was very common now.
No therapy.
Oh, no. A lot of men especially would not avail themselves. What can another person tell me? Yeah? I am the man. Right? We came from our fathers. We were trying to walk in their shoes.
Yes.
So how do you tell me to go and pour my issues to someone? Who are they? And I'm saying this because I even tried to introduce the psychologist I talked about. I think you know him, was Dr. Kavide. And was writing psychology and industrial psychology.
A brilliant man.
Brilliant man. And I used to read his magazine. First he started writing The Standard. And I tried to introduce these to men. And many men would, what for? What don't I know? Right? So men, we also have that issue. What can someone tell me? I know it all. Right?
Yes.
But you're saying, caught in the situation we are in, we're in a crisis. And we need someone to really kind of help us to see who we are and where we are coming from.
Okay.
In view of the changing times.
Okay.
But many men resist. Even today, they resist counseling.
Okay.
They say like, what can someone tell me?
Yes.
Again, the ego we talked about. I'm a man and I have it all.
But you don't know what you don't know.
But you don't know what you do not know. So my prayer is that men would avail themselves, open themselves to therapy.
Okay.
Many are also in abusive relationships. They are being abused also.
The men.
The men.
How so?
Some people say yes. The men who are also
being beaten.
Being beaten emotionally or psychologically. So they are really down there, oppressed.
Na ukiongea you look weak.
Ukiongea you look weak.
Like when maendeleo ya wanaume was launched, it was a big joke.
Yeah.
Saying, who do men need protection from?
Who do men? Yeah.
So you're saying men are suffering also?
Men are also suffering silently.
How? A woman is not punching you. How are you? Where is the...
They find themselves caught up in a relationship that is not working. Okay. And they don't know what to do and they can't walk out for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
So some are said to also be going through quite some pain.
Okay.
But they don't know how to deal with it.
Yes.
And therefore I would recommend that men also go for therapy where you have issues. But especially to help us understand who we are and what this relationship is all about. And our leadership role, we need training.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
Right? And the women also need to understand the place of a man. But you see, you can't blame women because they are saying men have failed to perform. They are not offering leadership. They are not offering protection. They are not offering resources.
Ni wakazi gani?
So ni wakazi gani? Yeah? So men have to up their game, to step up their game. You may not have enough money. You may have less, but you're providing leadership. You are the vision bearer. Yeah? Who are we as a family? Where are we going? You become the vision bearer. And so long as you are not perceived as wasting money, people should be able to sit together. Because finances are also a major issue. Should also be able to sit together. This is our money. But of course, woe unto you if you're saying this is the money and you're not the one contributing the majority, the most, the highest amount, and yet you want your money as some money aside, right? to entertain here and there.
Like you're using your woman's money to go and enjoy yourself.
Oh, then you are in a lot of trouble.
Pesa ya wanawake inakuwaga expensive.
Of course. Of course.
You can't just eat women's money ovyo.
No.
In fact, would you recommend it?
What?
Eating women's money?
I don't know.
For men?
No, why? It goes against our wiring. It goes against our wiring. But we must also accept that times have changed.
And because women are in a place of... Right now, the world we're in, women can get to the money.
Yes.
More than the guys. But... So people are in relationships now, the woman has money, but pia wewe unataka kusikia wewe ni mtu.
Exactly. So now, here, the man has to provide wise leadership. Right?
Wise leadership.
Leadership. And you're giving the family direction. Yeah? And saying, why don't we go this? You have to be very open to dialogue. Right? But you're giving guidance. You're giving leadership.
Yes.
That your respect will not come because of the amount of money. Yeah.
But because of your wise leadership.
Because of your wise leadership. And therefore men need to learn. And I think men need some training.
Is it possible to be a wise leader in a relationship with a rich woman?
It is possible.
Okay.
First, when man accepts this is me, right? And I'm not defined. You see, again, we came from that patriarchal family where the man had everything.
Where the definition of man was money and
everything, money and muscles. But times have changed, that we must accept. How does the man fit in now? Unless he stands above
resource.
Above resource.
He stands as a wise leader.
And that's why now me, having embraced the biblical model, I know I'm the leader, I'm the head. I need to give direction. I need to give guidance. In the event of things going wrong, God will demand an answer from me, for my family. So I realize I am obliged, right, to do things the right way.
Yes.
Right? And once we come to that position, I'm not threatened. Yeah? You're not threatened by what is going on. It's not about me having more money. That's not what defines me. Right? It is who are we and what is my place. Ideally, men should, of course, have
more money.
More money. Should be the head in every way.
Yeah.
But the situation has changed, and we can't do anything about that. There are women who are more business-oriented than their husbands. But it's something their husbands are also good at. Sindio? So that's what we bring to the table.
Everyone bring their strengths to the table.
Exactly. But women desire leadership. That you are giving guidance here and there. You seem to know more. So you can learn more. Yeah? So you are giving kind of guidance.
Yeah.
In these areas. Yes, you are empowered to earn more as the wife. But here I am. And I'm ready to provide leadership and guidance. We bring issues to the table. Yeah? It's not as easy as said, but it's doable.
But it's the path.
It's the path. It's the path to go. That time the woman will feel better, more secure, right? She has her man here, whether she's the one who has bought ABCD, but she feels secure with his man here on her side.
Yeah, because a lot of successful women have ghost boyfriends.
Yes, because they need a man.
They say, you hear them saying, oh, my man, my boyfriend, but you have never seen anybody. And it's so important to them that they mention repeatedly that they have a man.
They are wired for leadership. They need leadership.
Wired to be led.
They are wired to be led.
Even if she's sitting on $1 billion, she needs...
Yes, and that's why when they find this marriage, the man is not willing to play his role. They'll walk off. What are you for? You're not leading me. You're not protecting me. Who are you? What are you for?
Nauna pesa.
So the men have to step up their game.
And be wise leaders.
Okay. Yeah?
Okay.
And therefore, because they have not been taught, I think they need to be taught.
Okay.
They need to avail themselves to some teaching.
Okay.
And to grow in their self-understanding. Yeah? When you grow in your self-understanding and who I am, even in my personality, we come packaged. Yeah? You are who you are on account of your genetic makeup. And of course, you are nurturing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you cannot change yourself just like that. But when we know our strengths and our weaknesses, yeah, then we work on improving our strengths Yeah, and again, muting those weaknesses that come, because weaknesses are largely emotional. They just drives that we find
Yes.
being driven like this. Yeah.
Okay.
So once we understand, then I'll not listen to my emotions. Right. I'll also bring in reason. Why is this? Okay. And I think if we could apply the 7 habits Dr. Stephen Covey talks about into marriage, I think it would work out very well, because we need to develop the right habits. Right? Once we develop right habits, then things start falling into place.
Okay.
Sindio?
Okay.
We are now talking about how do we implement this.
Yeah. So do we? Okay. So you've brought this book up severally. So I think our next video we can cover 7 habits in context of relationships, maybe.
Good. Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay.
I think it should be our next video.
Yeah.
I have found it very powerful
Okay.
myself,
Okay.
and very applicable
Okay.
in this situation.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
Because it brings us down to some work we need to do.
Okay. Those are actionable steps.
Actionable steps.
Okay. Okay, fine. Thanks. In regards to that, then bring us home where this is concerned. The President Uhuru's statement and the experts and their rebuttals, and then we can close there, and then we will go to Stephen Covey's book and to other things.
Good.
In another video. Yes.
The thing is, we need to see where the president is coming from. Right? We need to see the place of the family.
The president is coming from the place of the importance of family.
The importance of family.
Okay.
And what the future holds if we do not address that.
Okay.
If we go on down the line we are going, then his question is, what will happen? Yeah? A lot of these children will be victims. They will suffer several things, mental, psychological, and what have you.
Yeah.
And how will they become useful members of society? Right?
Yes.
And therefore he's calling, I think, on the Kenyan society to engage. To engage. First, you appreciate, where are we?
We have a problem.
We have a problem.
Let's stop and look at.
Exactly.
We acknowledge tuko na shida. We have a crisis.
Tuko na shida.
And we are going to get into deeper problems.
Exactly.
Guys, we need to look at this.
Yeah. Once, as a Kenyan people agree that we have a problem, then we start asking ourselves, how do we get out? Because you can never get out of a problem you are not aware of. But for now, we are not aware that we have a problem. And that is what the president has done, to open our eyes. Guys, we have a problem. And it will shake the Kenyan society. Yeah? Unless we address it. So, that calls then on people, the church, the whole of you, different groups to come together and say, how do we solve this problem?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah?
So.
Okay. And the reason you have talked about, at least just to, again, bring that awareness that we have a problem.
Yes. Highlight the problem. First is to let people know we have a problem that we should address. Okay.
Then we ask ourselves, how do we address it?
Okay. Sawa.
Right?
Right. Thank you so much. That was it's always great talking to you. You always take us to foundational matters. And at Kikao, that's very important. Fundamentals over tactics. Just trying to skip over the fundamentals, you'll end up in the same place. With money, with relationships, with all things.
Yeah.
So we are glad that you always address the fundamentals with us. We look forward to our next video where we shall address 7 habits, and you can just take us beginning to end, and then we proceed from there. That was Kikao Africa, ladies and gents. Reaction video to President Uhuru Kenyatta's Madaraka Day statement on the destruction of the family unit. Thanks.